Hey soldiers, beware. There's a new investing trend out there. It's all the rage. And if you're not careful, you can lose a lot of money dealing with it. Now, what am I talking about? ESG. We'll go into what it is and who's really making money off of it. It's not you, the investor. But I want you to also understand, we're going to go over this, is the fact that the United States government recently made a move that is going to make it easier for you to invest emotionally. Now, we are not supposed to be investing emotionally. At least I don't. And I wouldn't necessarily recommend it. It's not what, this isn't financial advice. You can do what you want at the end of the day. But we're going to see how ESG really could be detrimental to a portfolio. Now, what the world is ESG? Well, it stands for environmental, social governance. Now, this whole thing is wrapped up in environmentalism, the social justice movement. We're going to invest with our emotions out front. How's that working out for Disney? You see, they just got rid of the CEO Chapek, ousted him, over the weekend. Brought in the older CEO, guy who had done it for a while, Bob Iger. Let me give you some advice, Bob Iger. Until you figure out that the people really aren't enthused about the entertainment product that you are churning out, then it doesn't matter who the CEO is. If you keep following this social justice mantra, people are going to choose other forms of entertainment. Disney's doing this at the worst possible time, by the way, when there are more choices for your viewing pleasure than ever. And we really appreciate you spending time with us. Hit subscribe, hit like, share these videos. We're not entertainment. Maybe we're entertaining, but we try to bring you information. So ESG, it's a set of standards for a company's behavior used by socially conscious investors to screen potential investments. So I like to screen investments the way Warren Buffett does, by doing a little fundamental analysis. Things like the debt the company may have, their sales, things like their PE ratio, hard and fast things like that. I'm really not getting into concerning myself with how many black people there are employed at the company, how many women there are in executive positions. No, I am strictly concerned when an investment is out there earning money. I'm concerned with things like profit. I know, old-fashioned, really radical, mindset, right? And trust me, people, there are laws upon laws out there already in existence that really help companies to go ahead and be diverse. Now, sure, I haven't worked everywhere. I don't know. Maybe there are some companies out there that have some problems in these areas. The market will take care of that. For example, if I go to a restaurant and someone says, we don't serve your kind. And I'll say, maybe, what kind is that? Well, very attractive, middle-aged men. I'll say, okay. And I'll just leave. Okay, they're not going to get my money. So the market is taking care of that. Now, the United States here recently has made a move, the government has made a move that's going to make it kind of easier for investors like you and me, retail investors, household investors, to put their money in ESGs, ESG-related investments, investments that have as their focal point things other than the fundamental performance of the company as it relates to selling products and getting money in exchange for those products or services. Labor Department clears path for 401k plans to offer ESG funds. Sounds good on the surface, right? Hang with me. Few retirement plans currently give savers the option to make investments based on environmental, social, governance principles. I wonder why that is. We're going to see exactly why that is in a moment. More retirement savers could soon have the option to invest in funds based on environmental, social, and governance principles under final regulations issued by the Labor Department on Tuesday. That's today for me, probably tomorrow for you. They did it, okay, at some point in the past to you. The new rule reverses a move by the Trump administration in 2020 that made it harder for 401k plans to put ESG investments on the menu. That regulation went into effect shortly before President Biden took office, but the Biden administration, moved to replace it. Today's rule clarifies that retirement plan fiduciaries can take into account the potential financial benefits, mark that, potential financial benefits of investing in companies committed to positive environmental, social, and governance actions when selecting 401k investments and exercising proxy voting, Labor Secretary Marty Walsh said. ESG funds have grown in popularity in recent years as individuals seek to invest in ways more consistent with their own values and to benefit from growth in sectors such as renewable energy. Listen, if you want to say be more socially conscious with regard to the environment, bravo, plant a tree. But when you get in, we're going to show you this, when you get into investing and you have emotions and all of these little extraneous things impacting your investment decisions, it probably won't turn out as good as it could have been if you just stuck to the data, the numbers, performance of the company. Globally, these funds collectively held some $2.2 trillion as of September 30th, according to Morningstar. Sustainable funds, another type of ESG fund, held $172 billion. So this is a new trend. And look, when they talk about this money under management, I want you to understand something very key. The performance of these funds is not necessarily linked to the compensation of the companies administering the funds. Now, you want these funds to do well because that's how you're going to retire. That's how you're going to send a kid to, college, buy a sailboat, buy the forever home, pass on a legacy, blah, blah, blah. That's how you're going to do all that. Well, guess what? Do you know why they don't do it as much anymore? But when they had the floor traders, at the end of the day, they would clap no matter whether the market was up or down. The reason why is because the brokers made money coming and going, win or lose. Advocates of ESG investing say that addressing climate change, improving corporate governance, and encouraging diversity boost profits. I've never seen any data to substantiate that. In fact, if we go back to the Disney model, we could argue the opposite. Critics and some regulators have raised concern about these claims. All right, let's look at some data associated with this. This is from the Harvard Business Review. As of December 2021, assets under management at Global Exchange traded sustainable funds that publicly set environmental, social, and governance investment objectives amounted to 2.7 trillion. 81% were in European-based funds and 13% in U.S.-based funds in the fourth quarter of 2021 alone. Now, the Harvard Business Review is saying, how have investors fared? Not that well, it seems. To begin with, ESG funds certainly perform poorly in financial terms. In a recent Journal of Finance paper, University of Chicago researchers analyzed the Morningstar sustainability ratings of more than 20,000 mutual funds, representing over $8 trillion in investor savings. Although the highest rate funded in terms of sustainability certainly attracted more capital than the lowest rated, none of the high sustainability funds outperformed any of the lowest rated funds. Now, this next part's important. The result might be expected, and it is possible that investors would be happy to sacrifice financial returns in exchange for better ESG performance. Okay, so better ESG performance means you get a little warm, tingly feeling inside, knowing that, some company has added a black guy to the board. Okay, and maybe that'll help you sleep at night. Now, that's great if that's what you're into. I don't know how, that will translate into you going into retirement, what that's going to do for your retirement, or again, maybe you want to buy a home in retirement. We're talking 401k here. Maybe you want to do some things like that to black out on the board of whatever company you've been invested in. I'm not sure how that translates into money that you can actually purchase things with. But again, maybe that warm and tingly feeling is all you're after. Maybe you're putting money in order to achieve that. And if that is what you want to do, it seems like ESG is just the thing for you. Unfortunately, ESG funds don't seem to deliver better ESG performance either, though. Oh, wow. So it's not even doing well on that. Researchers at Columbia University and London School of Economics compared the ESG record of U.S. companies in 147 ESG fund portfolios. Hang with me. And that of U.S. companies in 2,428 non-ESG portfolios. They found that the companies in the ESG portfolios had worse compliance records for both labor and environmental rules. So the black guy didn't get the position on the board. After all, you got to look into these things. See, just because they slap a label on something and say, oh, it's ESG, you can't just take that as gospel. But sadly, many people are doing just that. They also found that companies added to ESG portfolios did not subsequently improve compliance with labor or environmental regulations. So why is this going on? Who's profiting? Well, we'll get to that in a minute. This is not an isolated finding. A recent European Corporate Governance Institute paper compared the ESG scores of companies invested in 684 U.S. institutional investors that signed the UN's Principles of Responsible Investment and 6,481 institutional investors that did not sign this Principle of Responsible Investment. This was 2013 through 2017. They did not detect any improvement in the ESG scores of companies held by the who signed the document. Okay. Furthermore, financial returns were lower and the risk higher. So you got higher risk, lower returns, and the black guy didn't get the board position, or these lofty, pie in the sky environmental, social, and governance, pronouncements these objectives were never achieved. Now, this is what I alluded to earlier. Why are ESG funds doing so badly? Part of the explanation may simply be that an express focus on ESG is redundant. In competitive labor markets and productive markets, corporate managers trying to maximize long-term shareholder value should, of their own accord, pay attention to employee, customer, community, and environmental interest. On this basis, setting ESG targets may actually distort decision-making. That's right. Like I was saying, look, rules already exist. And look, I hate to beat a dead horse, but if the black guy's the best qualified, then bring him on. That is the kind of thing that good corporate managers concerned about the bottom line are doing. Go back to Disney. The kind of productions that they have been putting out for the past few years, their involvement in political issues, all of that has diluted the brand. All of it has, caused people to back away. Their streaming service, they've screwed up Star Wars. Let's just be honest about it. Marvel, the phase 3 and 4 are, what the hell is this? Okay. So people are just saying, hey, look, I'll take my eyeballs elsewhere and consume other entertainment. You guys be happy over here and, do what you do. If it makes you happy to produce woke content, then certainly don't let us stop you. However, the market seems to be having its say with regard to Disney and its stock. Now, over the past 5 years, Disney is down 6%. This year, well, in the last 12 months, Disney is down 36%. Year to date, 38%. So, I mean, hey, when do you get the message? You know what I mean? There's also some evidence that companies publicly embrace ESG as a cover for poor business performance. I can see that. A recent paper by Ryan Flugum of the University of Northern Iowa and Matthew Souther of the University of South Carolina reported that when managers underperform the earnings expectations set by analysts following their company, they often publicly talked about their focus on ESG. Don't look over here. Don't look over here at our financial performance. Look over here. Look, we planted trees in the, we tore up part of the driveway and we planted a whole bunch of trees. All right, so this is the subterfuge they're engaging in. But when they exceeded earnings expectations, they made few, if any, public statements related to ESG. Hence, sustainable fund managers who direct their investments to companies publicly embracing ESG principles may be over-investing in financially underperforming companies. All right, and I can't stress this enough. Again, this is the Harvard Business Review. The conclusion to be drawn from this evidence seems pretty clear. Funds investing in companies that publicly embrace ESG sacrifice financial returns without gaining much, if anything, in terms of actual furthering of ESG interests. So you lose twice. You lose your money, and then all of the stuff that you held dear as an ideology that you thought you were going to go out here and invest in, they're not even doing that. The evidence, according to the Harvard Business Review, substantiates that. All right, and to boot, these funds are more expensive. So lower financial performance. They're not doing what they advertise themselves as being, ESG, and they cost more. This study was conducted by Morningstar, found a higher asset-weighted average expense ratio for environmental, social, and governance funds at 0.61% compared with their traditional peers at 0.41%. Now, you might say, that's just a little bit. Over time, that is a lot. Because if I say, okay, 180 degrees from point A to point B. Point B, let's say it's 5 miles from here. Now, let's say it's, 1,000 miles from here. 180 degree line. Now, if I do another line that's 190 degrees, then that's going to look really similar for the first part of the journey. But over time, they're going to diverge. So even these little, differences in the beginning may not make a lot of, hay. But if you're a long-term investor, a difference like that could mean a lot over the course of 10, 20, 30 years. All right. So when they come around and they make much ado about that ESG component in your company, according to this, if your company is crowing too loudly about ESG, you might want to look at their numbers. There might be some layoffs in the future. If they're, look at us, look what we're doing, might be a cover for what they're not doing. So when they bring these around, now you have some information. You do what you want to do. You do your due diligence. I am not providing you with any financial advice. I'm just illuminating the issue for you. And guys, look, if you want to see the ramifications of another big, exciting investment trend, watch this video. We're talking about how Congress, the congressional committee that's supposed to be committed to looking out for your investments as an American investor, how they turned a blind eye to the whole FTX thing and how so many people lost money. This is why you got to educate yourself. This is why you got to know what's going on, okay? Watch that video. Study that debacle. We got plenty of videos on the channel about it so that you can learn more about your money and how to make it work harder for you. Guys, I'll talk to you soon.